At my goodbye party, my cousin Nate stood up and announced that he got the lead role in a movie. Just like that, the party meant for me became all about him. I didn't say anything, I just cleaned up a spilled soda while everyone cheered for Nate. He raised his glass and said, "Guess it's my big moment too," with a smug look on his face. Everyone was quiet at first, unsure if he was joking, but then my aunt started clapping, people cheered, and my mom smiled like she was proud. She always treated Nate like he was the star, no matter what I did, it never seemed to matter as much. I stood there holding a half-empty soda, watching while the decorations for my party were ignored. My cake sat untouched. No one noticed when I slipped into the kitchen, only the dog followed me. When someone spilled a drink in the living room, they asked me to clean it, of course, not Nate or his drunk friends. I did it without saying anything. My hands were shaking, not from anger, but from a deep, empty feeling. Everyone was laughing, but not for me. That night, I smiled and said nothing, even when Nate joked, "You're next, Mun. Don't be mad I stole the show." I wasn't mad, I was finished. The next morning, something happened. My mom came into the kitchen looking for coffee. I was already packed and ready for my flight. Then she saw something next to the coffee pot and froze. Her hand stopped midair, her eyes locked on it. "Peter," she said quietly, "what is this?" I didn't answer, I just zipped up my suitcase and walked past her. She didn't follow me. It wasn't always like this. I used to think that being helpful would earn me love, that if I kept showing up, people would see me, not as the backup, but as someone who mattered. But I should have known better. I still remember when I was 12, my mom missed my piano recital to drive Nate to an audition. He didn't even get the part, but I stood behind the curtain, waiting for her. She never came. Nate got a burger commercial at 16. My mom cried watching it. When I got into college, she just texted, "That's nice, let us know if you need help moving." I moved myself, I always did. Over the years, I got used to being left out. I still showed up, hoping being reliable would earn their love, but it didn't. So when I got a job offer in Berlin, my dream job, I hoped my farewell party would finally be about me. I helped plan it, cleaned the house, bought the food and decorations. They all said I was being extra. But no one helped, no one asked what kind of cake or music I wanted. Then Nate walked in, smiled, and took over the night. Later, after everyone left, I overheard my mom on the phone while washing dishes. She said, "Honestly, it's probably for the best that he's leaving. Peter's just not the star of this family. Maybe the Berlin job will teach him to stop overcompensating." I didn't say a word, I just went to bed. The next morning, I woke up early and packed, but before I left, I placed something on the kitchen counter, an envelope. A week earlier, I'd found it by accident. Inside were bank statements showing that someone had been taking money from my account, over $14,000, to pay for Nate's acting career, coaching, photos, flights, and the signature authorizing it was my mom's. There was also an email she sent to Nate's agent, "I'm wiring the funds from Peter's account. He won't notice, he never asks questions." I left that envelope by the coffee pot, no note, no words, just the truth. I saw her face when she read it, I heard her whisper my name, full of shock. I didn't stop, I rolled my suitcase to the door. Then she called out, "Peter, wait." But I didn't. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to be helpful, I wasn't being quiet. I was done. When I landed in Berlin, it was still dark, cold wind blew against the taxi windows, the driver hummed a sad song I didn't know. I should have felt excited about this new chapter, but I kept seeing my mom's face when she saw that envelope. Hours later, she texted, "Mom, we need to talk, this isn't what you think. Mom, please come home, we love you." Then Nate texted. "Nate, dude, what was that? You're really gonna throw a tantrum over a couple $1,000s? Grow up." A couple thousand. They had stolen over $14,000 from me, and they knew I wouldn't question it, because to them, I was just the quiet, dependable one, the one they leaned on so others could shine. Not anymore. I didn't reply to their messages, I didn't answer their calls. I focused on my job, on building a new life. For the first time, I was somewhere no one saw me as the extra cousin. In Berlin, I was just Peter, and I liked that, but the peace didn't last. 3 weeks later, I got a call at work from a blocked number. I don't know why I answered, maybe I was just tired of avoiding everything. Peter, it was my dad. I hadn't heard his voice in months. He sounded tired, like he was reading something someone else wrote. "We're flying out tomorrow," he said. "Your mom and Nate need to talk to you. This has gone too far." I laughed, but it didn't feel good. "Gone too far? You mean after you all stole from me? After Nate turned my going-away party into his own event? While I cleaned up soda like a servant?" He sighed. "It was a misunderstanding." "No," I said, "it was betrayal." The next day, I got an email from the front desk at my building. Hi Peter, your family came by and left messages. They wanted to come up, but we said no, like you asked. They'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Let us know if we should stop them again. I didn't reply, but the next morning, I waited by the door. At 10:07, there was a knock. I opened it. My mom stood there in her gray coat, with her usual mix of concern and control on her face. My dad was behind her, hands in his pockets, and Nate, wearing sunglasses and a smirk like he was famous. Hi, honey, my mom said, can we come in? I let them in, not for them, for me. I wanted to hear what they'd say. I wanted to see if they could finally admit what they'd done. They sat on the couch. I stayed near the kitchen counter with my arms crossed. No small talk, no coffee, just tension. Mom started, Peter, I made a mistake. I was under pressure. Nate was struggling, and you've always been steady. Nate jumped in. You didn't even notice the money, Mun. Don't act like we robbed a bank. I looked at him. You took from me, and used my name to do it. Dad finally spoke. We're here to say sorry. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? Mom added. Yes, but we also want to move forward. We need this family to be whole again. There it was. Need. Not sorry. Not we were wrong. Just we need you back. Because they wanted the guy who always paid the bills and never complained. I'm not coming back, I said. Silence. Don't be dramatic, my mom said. Dramatic? I laughed. You forged my signature, you stole from me, you ruined my party, and when I didn't pretend to be happy about it, you called me bitter. Nate rolled his eyes. I didn't know about the money, that was Mom, I just. What, thought it was fair? I said, because I don't smile for photos or cry for attention, you've never supported me. You've always been jealous, Nate said. I stepped closer. Jealous? You mean when Mom put your photo above my diploma? Or when she gave you the big bedroom for your creativity, that kind of jealous? Mom stood. That's enough. No, I said, it's not. She froze. I had never raised my voice to her before, but this wasn't just a son talking to his mom anymore. This was someone who had been used for too long finally speaking up. You want the truth? I said. I sent money when Dad lost his job. I paid your medical bills. I bought your car, Nate, and no one ever said thank you. But the moment I stopped being useful, you acted like I didn't matter. Dad muttered, that's not true. I turned to him. You knew. You let Mom do whatever she wanted. You hoped Nate would become famous and save us all. I will make it, Nate said. I hope you do, I told him, because from now on, you're paying for yourself. Mom folded her arms. We came here for peace. No, I said, you came to reset the cycle, so I'd forgive and forget, so I'd keep being your wallet. Dad tried again. Peter, listen. I've been listening my whole life, I said, now it's your turn. I went to my desk, grabbed a file, and handed it to them. Inside were papers ending their access to my accounts, a fraud report, and a list of stolen transactions I'd sent to the bank. Nate stared at it like it might explode. You wouldn't, I already did. Mom looked shocked. You're breaking up the family over money? No, I said quietly, I'm finally accepting that I never really had a family. They were silent. I walked to the door and opened it. I have a meeting, I said. You can let yourselves out. My mom's voice cracked. If you walk away? I cut her off. I'm not walking away, I'm breaking free. And then I shut the door. They left without a word. No yelling, no drama, just quiet footsteps down the hall, but that silence felt louder than anything else, like the smoke after a fire. I thought I'd feel free. I didn't, not yet, because I knew what came next, their version of the story, the guilt, the blame. That night it started. Mom, I can't believe you do this to your family. Dad, we flew across the world. Nate, you're overreacting. Then Mom posted on Facebook. We try so hard for our kids, sometimes they forget who's always been there. We raised a son, not a stranger, but God sees everything. Yeah, he does, and I bet he kept the receipts, too. I didn't reply, I didn't post, I didn't defend myself, I just watched. The comments rolled in, distant relatives, church friends, even an old teacher. He'll come around. Kids grow cold sometimes. So sorry, Mary. Not one person asked what really happened, not one wondered if maybe the quiet kid finally had enough. But that was okay. While they cried about their version of the story, I was rebuilding mine. That first night, I didn't sleep. I stared out the window at the Berlin lights, the city breathing quietly, like a fresh start waiting to begin. My stomach turned, but not with regret. It was the feeling of letting go. The next day, I deleted the family group chat. I unfollowed Nate. I blocked my parents' numbers. I even pulled out the photo album my mom gave me after college and threw it away. Each page showed fake smiles at events they barely showed up to. I didn't need reminders of the person I used to pretend to be. A week later, an unknown number kept calling. I finally answered. Hello? There was a short pause, then a familiar voice. Peter, it's Aunt Melissa. I was surprised. I hadn't talked to her in almost 5 years. She was the one the family didn't talk about because she moved to Portugal and married someone they didn't like. I heard what happened, she said gently. I waited for her to scold me, but instead, she said, good for you. I paused. What? I saw your mom's post. She always knew how to play the victim, but you've always been strong, you just didn't realize it. I sank into my chair. I didn't think anyone noticed. We noticed, she said. Some of us always did, we were just too afraid to say anything. That was the first time I cried, not from sadness, but because someone finally understood. Things got worse before they got better. Nate made a podcast episode about toxic siblings. He didn't say my name, but it was clear who he meant. A magazine picked it up and said, actor Nathaniel Green opens up about betrayal, family, and healing through Hollywood. I laughed out loud. Hollywood healed him? I paid for his first acting classes and his rent for a year, but sure, he was the victim. I got messages from strangers, some supported him, some didn't. One girl messaged. Thank you, my brother is the Nate in our family too. I thought I was alone. I saved that one. A month passed, then 2, and something unexpected happened. Peace. No surprise phone calls, no guilt texts, no being pulled into someone else's drama. I drank coffee, went to work, made new friends, and laughed without worrying who needed saving. I started sleeping through the night. I signed up for German classes. I joined a photo club. I went on a date for the first time in years, and every time I chose myself, I remembered my mom's face when I said, I'm not walking away, I'm breaking free. Because that was the truth. This wasn't about revenge, it was about giving myself the care I used to give them. Then came the final test. An email from Nate. Hey, just wanted to say I get it now, maybe not all of it, but enough, you were right. No excuses, no fake kindness, just honesty. I replied. Thanks for saying that, hope you find your peace. That was the last chapter. And for the first time, I didn't feel like an extra in someone else's story. I felt like the writer. Sometimes I still catch myself reaching for my phone to send a picture or joke only my family would get. Then I remember, there is no we anymore. And surprisingly, that doesn't hurt. It sets me free. Because I've finally learned something no one in my family ever wanted me to believe. I'm not broken, I just never learned how to betray myself like they did. They taught me to stay quiet, to carry their problems, to call that love. But I'm done. They don't get to tell my story anymore. I do. The hardest part wasn't cutting ties, it was letting go of the hope that they'd change, that I would finally matter to them. I don't hope for that anymore. And that's where peace began. A few weeks ago, I stood at a train station in Berlin. It was a bright spring morning. I was drinking coffee when someone bumped into me and apologized in German. I replied easily. She smiled, I smiled back. And I realized, I belong here. Not just in Berlin, in myself, in this voice that no longer shakes, in this body that no longer flinches. Later that day, I got an email from my old landlord. A letter had come for me, from my mom. She wrote it by hand. It was 3 pages of guilt, sweet words, and a bit of manipulation. The last line said, we only wanted what was best for you. I wish you could see how much you've changed. I read it twice, then deleted it. No reply, no drama, no more pretending. Because yes, I have changed. I no longer believe that being family means they get to hurt me. You know what's funny? They used to call me the quiet one. I wasn't quiet. I was watching, learning, surviving. And now, I'm louder than ever. Not with words, but with how I live. I'm building something new, real friendships, a job I love, a home where I don't freeze when the phone rings, a version of me that feels real. Last weekend, I had dinner with friends, we drank wine, told stories, laughed a lot. Someone asked about my family. I smiled and said, I had one once, but I upgraded. We laughed, and that laughter? That's what healing sounds like. It doesn't always come gently, sometimes it comes like fire, burning bridges that were never safe to walk on. This is my truth. I'm not selfish. I'm not too sensitive. I'm not the villain in their story. I'm the one who finally said no, and meant it. And if that makes me the black sheep, I hope my fire lights the path for the next quiet one. The lesson? You don't owe anyone your peace just because you share their blood. Being strong doesn't mean being silent. And walking away? That's not weakness. It's freedom.